And
I think we're live.
we're live. Good morning,
Okay.
bread bins. Bread bins?
Coming up.
Bread bins. Bread rins. Yeah, we're back again, waffling. My favourite thing to do.
Yeah.
I am browning out today. I'm rocking brown everything,
I'm
and you are
kind of green and grey
and purple.
and purple.
I was brown.
Oh, I was just like, you're just really brown.
Down for the brown. Wait, does that mean I'm a baghead? I'm
Probably.
not sure. I don't really want to go down that road. Anyway, so today we've decided we've got the Worlds coming up.
Yep.
And
A lot of, well, what happens every year with the Worlds is everybody paints a new body.
yeah, and I'd say it's sort of a 50-50 split between people that kind of started their bodies last year and are making something incredible and
and have put the effort in.
Yeah, and then a bunch of mongs like us that are
haven't even
basically
decided
like,
which body
I
I'm
need to
taking."
make a body. God, I don't know what to do. Yeah,
I literally haven't even decided which body I'm taking right now. It's
yeah.
either going to be an FC or it's going to be a PS13 or it's going to be a JZX100.
I'm taking
All of
many.
them.
I'm taking a selection because this is a you know, our topic we're talking about today is why we choose a particular body, you know, down to the body style, the size, the shape, the color, you know, and what basically we base on. Obviously, the World's coming up, so it's a bit different to normal driving where you're just kind of going around for fun. I mean, yeah, it's still for fun, but
It's less fun.
it's more intense because there's a competition element to it.
It's less fun, more pressure.
Dude, there's more fun and more pressure. It's correlative. It all happens together.
Maybe for you.
Anyway, yeah. So the criteria is a little bit different in the sense of, you know, you need to be able to react to another car in a battle situation and not in, you know, just a twin drifting for fun situation. Like a lot of the driving we do here now is we run a particular line to allow people to be next to us, so it looks cool, so we can run in a train. But when you're battling,
that's just making it easy.
You're making it easy.
Yeah.
So you know, you want a body where you can put it wherever the hell you want it at any given moment. So we're going to try and go through that and explain a bit about why we choose the bodies that we choose. What you'll see a lot of here, I think nearly everybody's got one, is one of these tappy noise.
Yeah, some
FC.
Some people have more than one.
Some people have more than one. I wonder who they could be.
Some people have a full. Well, I'd consider it a collection.
1, 2, 3,
4, 5, 6, 7.
And you've got one. Oh no, you got another one. You got 3 unpainted, haven't you?
Yeah.
So this dickhead's got like 9.
I like FCs.
FCs.
I like FCs in real life.
And a 180.
But I get on with them well as a
But
thing.
you've had other bodies as well. Like you've got the Z up there. I'm looking at. We've got a wall of bodies over there. I'm not going to move the camera because I'll ruin our shot. But you know, there's all sorts of stuff. There's Supras, there's BMWs, there's RX-7s, there's Chasers, 34.
S14s, S15s.
Yep.
S13s.
And another
GT86s.
another body that pops up all of the time. To be fair, is
it's quite weird.
This
That's the Yokomo JZX100
Mark II Saito Daigo car.
Yep. It's quite funny because in Japan it's been a popular body for ages, but over here it's only been in the last year that people have really started warming to it a bit, I think.
Well, these, you know, the JZX100 Mark IIs, they're a very stable body. And, you know, one of the things was, you know, the points we're talking about is the actual body style and the size of it. So style is to the individual, you know, what cars do you like? Do you like big 6 cylinders? Do you like 4 doors? Do you like coupes? Like hatchbacks, you know, because the Corollas are out there. But with the JZX100 is obviously between your wheels. I'm going to put my hands here. Can you see that? Between the wheels.
Maybe the other side, camera
yeah,
side.
That's hard. Wheels. Anyway, so between those points is obviously your chassis. But basically, the way your brain works when you're driving your RC car is that depending on the overhang at the front and the overhang at the rear, your brain will naturally pick a center point for the car. Yeah. So if it's got
it's almost like a pivot point, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's the you know, the pivoting axis of the car. So if you imagine it this way, so I'll start with the rear first. If the rear is long, the car is likely to be oversteery. If the rear is short,
the way I always think of it, like I've got a slightly different way of looking at it. I always think if the rear is long, the rear moves slower.
That's a good way to put it.
So it feels more stable and planted.
Yeah. So if that's an overall thing for me. So if the rear is short and the front short,
specifically,
snappy.
if you're just talking about the rear, if you don't change the front of the body and you just extended the rear out, it feels more stable. It feels slower reacting. So it feels calmer, I'd say.
Yeah.
And if you shorten the rear, like for example, an S14 has a very short rear, and a GT86 has a very, very short rear. It feels very snappy and responsive.
Almost
because it moves faster.
Twitchy.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, speed is absolutely right. But the length also, I feel like, gives you oversteer control. So when you're in oversteer, you can sort of remain in oversteer.
Yeah.
Shorter, you tend to want to snap straight because it's very edgy, you know. But it's the same with the front. So if the front's short, it's very twitchy and snappy. But if the front's long, you'll find it dulls it down and slows it down and makes it feel a bit understeery.
A caveat for all of this is it kind of depends what you learnt with.
A what?
Caveat.
A caveat.
Yeah.
Is that a hat?
Another aspect of this.
A chavvy hat for this.
It depends what you started with. I started out with my second body was an FC. My second ever RC drift body was an FC.
Yeah.
So where I started getting like where I progressed from being absolute beginner to sort of beginner intermediate, it was with an FC. So I've sort of I can judge distances very well with an FC. I know where the front is going to be. I know where the rear is going to be, and I know generally how they're going to behave. Like it's ingrained in my brain because it's how I learned and how I trained.
I never thought of it that way. That's
so. But it doesn't necessarily apply to just the body itself, but it's the scale of the body, front and rear, and things like that.
Yeah, that is
if you're used to running a super wide 200 mil with short front and rear, then if you go to something that's a bit skinny and long, it's going to feel really unusual.
Yeah.
It's not that you can't adapt; it's just different, and some people don't enjoy that. So. I personally like something with I don't like anything with a long front. It has to have a short to medium front and a medium to long rear.
So I'd say
FCs, JZXs,
FC is almost like a medium front, isn't it? Really, with a long back end. So basically, in very simple terms, if the nose is short and the arse is long, it'll be oversteery. If the nose is long and the arse of the car is short, then it'll be understeery. And if it's short front rear, then it'll be twitchy. And if it's long, it'll be stable but a bit dull. And then if it's sort of medium length front and rear, it's a very stable and predictable shell.
There's another thing to consider, and that is when you have a rear-wheel drive car. All of my body shell choices have always been based on my four-wheel drive driving. I've gone to the ABC 180, which has I'd say medium front and a short rear.
I'd say it's sort of almost medium long at the front.
But I'd say medium to short at the rear. And because it's
make a visual.
It's probably the wrong color to do this with, but the thing for this is rear-wheel drive. My brain drives it very differently than four-wheel drive, so I can drive a different body, and actually it's fine. The biggest thing that
having a little wash understeer on a rear-wheel drive is not necessarily a bad thing because it stops the car hooking.
The biggest thing I find difficult to drive with this is my perceived pivot point. Is too far forward. For my liking
with this car,
with this body, I consider it to be actually roughly where it should be for a rear-wheel drive car, obviously between the axles.
So sort of where an engine would be.
Like right on the steering rack kind of thing. The weird thing for me is judging clipping points with this, because I'm used to an FC that has a longer rear and the front is a bit different. I really struggled to get to place the nose of this.
Do you find
I don't know if that's just because I'm only using it rear-wheel drive.
Are you too deep in a corner, or are you?
I'm sort of overrunning the clip. I'm a bit short because it's kind of messing with my brain a bit. But it's something that with practice I'll get.
Because it's working out the trajectory from here to here.
But that's the other thing to consider is if you're running a longer nose, well, your steering wheels at the front, the front wheels even. They're in the same position. But you've got more of an overhang.
So relative, they're further back.
They're further back, so you actually need to place the car further away to have the front of the body in the same position. So
this stuff's confusing.
It's very confusing. I'm probably making it more confusing than it needs to be.
You are, but that's all right. So shift that thing out of the way. We'll move on to the other go-to body, which is the Mark X. This is one of my original bodies.
You've only had one, haven't you, Mark X?
Yeah, and I strengthened this one, and it has lasted for a very long time. We will come on to strengthen in a minute, but the Mark X is a very even-feeling, stable body. It is slightly longer in the back.
When we're referring to each body, in this case the Mark X, we are also referring to the brand. This version of the Mark X.
So this is the Yokomo one. The Mark II is a Yokomo.
My FC was the Yokomo Samurai.
Samurai.
The 180, as I said, was the
ABC Hobby. Yeah. Generally, with bodies as well, we are sticklers for quality. So if we're not fans of very, very thin body shells, we try and stay with stuff that's good and sturdy and is going to last out. Because making a body shell can be quite expensive, which we've got an example of in a minute. But generally the thing is just to pick the right body shell for your driving style. So if you're in a battle situation with anyone really, a Mark X is a good choice because it's so stable and planted, and I think the word would be consistent. That it just makes it a fantastic thing to drive, although it can be a bit dull, I think.
Really? I disagree.
Compared to an FC, an FC snaps really fast and violently. It's like a really aggressive
I actually
drive, but stable in a way.
Personally, I think if I was going to be designing the perfect body shell proportions, I think it's the Mark X. I think it's a short front and a mid to long rear.
So why don't you run one?
Because I can't make one look cool.
Yeah.
That's my problem. I painted one. I painted a purple one.
When I did it, it looked cool.
I think it still looks cool now. I think that's the definitely out of all the body shells we've had between us, that's the longest lasting in terms of style, because it's simple.
Yeah, it just looks like a normal car
with silver carbon.
Yeah, but you can't see that on the screen.
No,
they don't
have silver carbon on the bonnet and boot and.
You can just catch it. It was cool when it happened. So anyway, that's
2.5 years old.
Mark X.
2 years old.
Yeah, and it's
2 years old,
and it's still going. It still works. Next example would be an understeery body shell. Yeah, which is my Yokomo / Animal Style 180SX. It's not officially.
I was going to say it's just the Yokomo 180.
It is, but
it's the Toyo's one, is it?
The Toyo one, yeah. But Julian from Animal Style sent over the stickers for me. Super nice dude. So go and buy Animal Style stuff because they're nice guys. But yeah, this is an understeery body. So as you can see, long nose. There's a lot of overhang at the front, and a medium rear, I'd say.
Medium to short.
Yeah, I mean it's at the top half it's short.
Yeah.
But then you've got this lip here.
From my angle here, I can barely see the rear bumper.
Yeah,
I can see literally the tiniest little bit here.
So
it depends on your angle.
Yeah,
that's another thing actually. That I'm just going to sort of drop in there is straighter back ends are kind of good.
Yes, because they're easier to place.
The FC has a bit of a lip, but the Mark X is essentially flat.
Yeah, and it's being able to place the back end.
Yeah, and know that you can see as much as you can. Obviously, depending on angle, you're not going to see certain things, but yeah, it's kind of
Well, this shell is actually something I did to experiment. So something I don't normally do on shells, but I have done on this. Is you'll see that there's an luminous yellow band around the bottom edge of the car, and that's to be able to pick out where the car is. And because it's understeery, like you were saying with the 180, you end up, because the effectively the steering rack is in a different place, relative to where your eyes look. It's quite difficult to place the car. So to alleviate that, I've put a luminous line around the bottom of the car to try and allow me to pinpoint it a bit better, which kind of brings us into the paint and colors thing, but we'll come back to that. the other thing that I added to this shell, and we kind of add to everything, not just for cosmetics, but for, you know, to alter that front rear size difference.
I'm glad you brought this up, because I was about to get to that, because this is a perfect example.
Wings, and that's exactly it. Normally, I have a big wing on this. Have you got a spare wing blade somewhere?
No, but it's essentially that size, isn't it?
Yeah. And if you look at Jay's shell, if we just sort of turn it around a little bit, you can see, try not to rustle too much, how much the rear wing is overhanging the car. So,
and very noticeably, I have super bright end plates.
Yeah. So basically, instead of the back of the car being here, it's almost an inch further back and highlighted. So that is a visual reference as to where the back of the car is.
Another thing that's worth mentioning is, because we mentioned the Worlds earlier, this obviously didn't have, for the Worlds last year, this was a plain purple body with gold decals on. When I got to the Worlds, it was a particularly dark setting because we were in a tent and it was quite a dark body. I actually kept, in my first few practice sessions on the main track, I kept crashing into the wall because I couldn't see the wing. Yeah. Because it was a black wing on a black
ended up putting a load of
I put these stickers here purely to give me a reference.
Yeah.
That was essential. Without that, because at the time I had carbon end plates.
Oh, so you couldn't see them.
Couldn't see them. So I kept firing the car in onto the wall and misjudging it because they were long end plates and just spinning off.
Yeah.
And literally crashing into the wall every
lap
without
fail. Kind of.
So I had to pull it over and just put a
white stickers on it,
marker,
a visual reference.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the thing with this is, as it is now, it's understeer and not very nice.
No.
But actually, with the rear wing on, set back, you know, hanging off the back of the car, not necessarily that high.
I find the height helps.
The height helps at a distance because you get a better plane of reference.
For me, it's a perspective thing.
Yeah.
The height doesn't matter until you get to that one spot on the track where you're at the car is at the angle away from you, where you can't see the wing because it's below the height of the roof.
Yeah, exactly.
So I always jack it up,
super high, try and get them up, and
because that way that doesn't happen.
Well, with this one, like I was saying, it turns it from being understeer into actually being quite neutral.
Yeah.
And it makes it easy to drive. Whereas as it is now, that's almost awful to drive. To be fair, like that.
Yeah, I've had a go with that, and
with the wing, or
I've had it go with and without. Well, with the wing, and didn't you run a small wing on it at some point? I can't remember, like one like the Mark II, like a
like a drag wing.
Yeah,
yeah,
I didn't like that, even slightly.
I'm sorry. But yeah, you know, that just kind of is a reference to the importance of of the wings.
Another really important factor. The wings. Everything is obviously a personal thing. You like what you like. Some people prefer to drive with no wings. I painted. I haven't got either of them to hand right now, but I painted an overdose chaser, didn't I? For my.
Well, we can. It's not a chaser, but we can do some.
Well, let's leave that for now because I'm going to get onto another point where I'm going to pull these up. But I painted an overdose chaser that was my usual purple that I tend to use every time, and but it only had a lip spoiler
on the boot.
On the boot,
yeah.
Looked super cool. I thought, like exactly what I wanted it to look like.
Drove awful.
No, drove okay. I could deal with that, but I wouldn't ever take it into a competition because occasionally I'd misjudge the back because I couldn't see the wing.
Actually, to be fair, I was going to say the same thing because I'm going to pull this body out because we're literally talking about J6s. But anyway, this shell, like the wing was high, and I broke the wing because I'm a moron. But this shell had quite a high wing, and it's the first shell I've driven where I've put the wing high. I'm going, do you know what? I don't really like the way this feels. So I took the wing off completely, and it actually really planted the car. When it had a tall wing on it, it's the only shell I've had where I've put the tall wing on it, and it's felt almost too much, like almost too floaty. So I took the wing off, drove around like that, and it felt a little bit too snappy. Like it was really nice, but a little bit too snappy. I've put a low mount wing on, and now it's kind of it's a good feeling. And obviously weight might be a factor with that because I've put some like alley spaces to hold it there. But the overdose JZXs are all very, very balanced, like in terms of body size and shape and everything. They're all very planted and feel heavy, and it's a good feeling.
I think the Mark II is excellent. The Chaser is very, very, very good, but visually the roof is very slightly too tall for me.
Yeah,
like to drive
with this or with
the Chaser.
Yeah,
with the Chaser, it's beautiful to drive with, and I think they've done it for a reason because it drives ace.
Yeah,
but when you sit next to a Mark II or next to something else, it just looks a little bit almost Pokemobilly. Like the roof is too tall.
It's funny how there's a difference between essentially like you got the Mark II, the Chaser, and the Cresta.
Yeah.
And it's funny the difference between the three of them.
Yeah, I don't get on with the Cresta.
Well, the thing is actually also is the shape of the corners of the car and the roof also make a difference. But that's
I was going to mention that because you're running
the
roof wing from the PS13 on that.
I am, yeah. The Euros one that you can't get anymore.
And
the buggers.
I've not really played around with roof wings too much, and I'm kind of a bit. It's something I'm going to do, I think, on my World's body just to see how it feels.
Nice.
But it's nice because you're used to it because you've done it on a lot of bodies. In fact, you've used that on probably 5 bodies. That specific one. It's probably the most recycled thing we've got here.
I'd say it is. It's pretty battered. It's got like a split on the back edge that luckily you can't see.
But right, if you shift that, I'm going to talk about colours because we have.
Well, I'm gonna throw another one in the mix while we're on about colours.
Well, I'm just doing this because they're the same body.
Oh, that's true.
And you can't actually see them. Can you shift that actually? Because I've not realised I've made all of these not really very visible. And I'm knocking the mic.
This is blinding.
Let's just shift that back.
Do them like that so you can. There you go.
That's going to struggle because the microphone's there.
That'll be all right.
That's okay. The big thing for me last year at the Worlds was the darkness. The track was very dark by.
Oh, not the band.
Yeah.
I believe anything got me.
I haven't even heard that in years. Essentially, we got there and we were used to driving indoors with fluorescent lights and
a light grey carpet.
A very light grey carpet. And we got to the Worlds last year, or the Euros as it was last year, and it was in a tent with some lamps.
Yeah.
And it looked nice to spectate on, but when the track was as big as it was and it was as dark as it was, colour choice made a real difference, as I was mentioning before with the wing and not being able to see anything. So
dark colour was a bad choice.
It was a bad choice.
Being honest.
It is my colour that I always use. It's my favourite concoction.
See, this is the problem. I love my dark poo brown, and
that's kind of a new thing, though. It's not something you've done for years, is it?
But I did that. That was my Euros bodies last year, and I went bright, but that didn't really work for me, to be honest.
No.
But I think I'm a dark colour person. But the problem is at the Euros, you need those picking points.
I do think it'll be different this year because we're in a sports hall again.
Yeah.
So it should be better.
We're on carpet as well.
Yeah.
So it should be less bouncy.
If I put it this way, I don't think having a bright shell is ever a problem, but having a dark shell can be a problem.
Yes. But having a dark shell with highlighted points.
Yeah.
Like I was saying with the 180, having the luminous yellow band on the bottom of it.
Helps.
That helps massively.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if it's worth having just the bottom, or whether it's beneficial to have some higher parts. Have the roof and the bonnet a bright color as well.
Like I was saying earlier, sexy nights is kind of where I'm feeling.
Yeah, but that's only the front of the car. So what about the back?
Well, hopefully that'll just get smashed off on the wall.
This thing by this getting the decals on it that it's got now, I'd quite happily have run that last year in the dark.
Well, it works on camera because, to be fair, like if those stickers weren't on there, it'd be much harder to pick it out.
Yeah,
it just looked like you had a weird, I don't know, band tattoo on your arm or something.
We basically has pulled out the FCs or a selection of FCs to kind of show a few things, because this is the body that I've used for the last year. It's completely battered. It's been crashed a lot. It's had a lot of use. It should really have been on the wall 6 months ago, but needs must. I didn't have another body to use. The green one is the body that I used for the year before, essentially.
Yeah, and it's the one that's as old as the Mark X.
Yeah, and also it has reinforcement like the Mark X, which is kind of what I was going to talk about in a second. The white one is actually a body that I painted recently with the intention of using some kind of cool rare stickers that I got from a certain Dutch friend. Thanks, Taj.
Oh, younger.
I kind of painted it and then eyeballed it and thought, no, this isn't going to work as I thought it was going to work. So I've kind of given up on the idea and lost all faith. And the downside is,
I think everybody has the thing where they paint a shell and then just go,
It's not as good as I thought it'd be. Just the problem with it is in real life, I hate white FCs, but like like the plain factory white stock FCs.
That'd probably look pretty cool in real life.
That would look pretty cool, but for me, I'm not into white FCs. So without those stickers, it's just a white FC. So I've got to come up with something clever to make that look nice. And so far, it's not happened.
Yeah.
Just now. But the green one has had a whole bunch of use. Actually had a bit of a refresh, didn't it? Because originally it had the PS13 stickers.
Well, I'll tell you what we might as well do is just talk about strengthening.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back to colours. We'll give some of our colour secrets away. But for the moment, we're going to give...
I don't know the easiest way to show this. That's probably the long way.
Can go. I can't see the trend. There you can see that.
You can see yours. Mine's essentially the same, but without the roll cage. It's basically this is Shugu and what's the official name for the tape? It's just plasterer's tape, isn't it?
But I forgot what it's called. It's this stuff.
Yeah, it's like a mesh.
Was it Scotch tape or
no? It's not Scotch tape. It's for basically going over joints when you plaster.
Pro tape.
FD50.
Yeah. But this you can buy just in a DIY store.
Yeah, and you can also buy it in sheets rather than on rolls as well, which is significantly cheaper.
But if you buy a roll, it's about £8 and it'll last you till the end of eternity.
Yeah.
You can also use it for repairing fiberglass bumpers.
And you can use it for a whole bunch of stuff. So anyway, essentially, it's that with Shugu sort of pressed through it.
Yeah.
So it's a rubberized glue that doesn't set hard.
I'll use that. So basically, if you put a blob on the thing and you just get a spreader and you literally just push it on. So it's a really thin film of Shugu. Yep. If anyone haven't got a tube Shugu anywhere. So you don't really need it. But if anyone doesn't really know what Shugu is, just go on eBay or Amazon or whatever it is and just type in Shugu.
That drawer.
What'd you put? Oh, the air freshener.
So
there you go.
There's a brand new Shugu.
It's the red one, not the black one.
Yeah. Incidentally, this is available in black or white caps. Black is a black goo.
Yeah.
And will show through your paint.
Black goo.
Which the first tube I bought, I didn't realise was.
Yeah.
I didn't realise
literally it goes all patchy. You want the clear stuff.
You want the clear stuff, which
with
is
the white lid,
white cap. I also have some Max Repair, which was given to me again by Taj, which is essentially the same product. Technically, it's slightly different, but essentially, it does the same job.
That's. How long did I have that for? 2 years.
That's 2 years.
2 years.
2 years of a lot of use.
I mean, the back of that won't move.
Do you know the easiest way to demonstrate this? All FCs have the same problem. FCs always crack along here, along the wheel, the top of the wheel arch. And if you look, but if you press these, it just buckles and goes like that. Straight away. There's just not enough material there. Now this one technically will do the same, but you probably won't be able to see this. Which way do I need to tilt it? So here, this side, you can see I haven't actually reinforced to the wheel arch. So the bit that's cracked is the bit that isn't reinforced. If I had reinforced that wheel arch,
did you put? Oh no, you didn't.
But see how much stronger? Like that takes a lot more force to even get it to flex at all, and that's without the reinforcement going actually where it's required.
The other trick for these,
let's show it. Have you? No, I thought I had one in there. They're over there somewhere.
I've got some. Go into your local Starbucks or Costa Coffee or other brand, just to be fair to everybody, and steal these stirrers. And what you basically do is break them into smaller bits, and then in your front wheel arch, you can Shugu them in. Yep. So what you've got to do...
I would put on an FC, I would put a coffee stirrer there and a coffee stirrer there, and it would not have a problem.
That it won't move anymore. The trick to it is lay in your first layer of Shugu and tape, and then put your stick in wherever you want it, and then put the more of the webbing over it, and then Shugu over the whole thing, and that will be rock solid. But they're effectively they're free. Go and buy yourself a coffee and get some free stirrers.
The other option you can use is if you wanted to not be a thief and steal stuff from a coffee shop, you can go to any hobby shop and buy some lollipop sticks that are used for crafting various things.
That's way too sensible for me.
They're also where a lot of people will be buying paint, and they're just there.
Indubitably.
One element that you have to consider when you're reinforcing stuff is weight.
Yeah,
it's a very, very important thing. You'll notice that
that is heavy.
My current body shell that has lasted me 1 year has no reinforcement at all, apart from a patch where somebody cracked it and repaired it for me. This one has a lot of reinforcement in, and actually you can see there's a cutout here that actually used to have an aluminium intercooler bonded in, Tetsujin one, so that you could see it through the vent on the bonnet. I actually had to take that out because it was too heavy, and I had added too much shugu and too much reinforcement to hold it in place.
Yeah.
And basically, yeah, it's kind of.
Well, it was almost like going back to there was a phase of everyone running ballast in their bodies. People were putting, 700-gram weights in the roofs.
Yeah, I mean, people still play around with that.
I mean, yeah, it's still something that's there, but it's not generally done that much. And this was in the phase where, generally weight, weight was something everybody added.
Sorry, just to interrupt you, I've just realised there's a really good demonstration as well with the FC. FCs, if you crash them a lot, which this one has been crashed a lot. This is my first purple FC.
Mullered, I think is the word.
But this hasn't been used in a long time. It got crashed a lot because it's one of my first bodies, so it got a bit of abuse from me. But then this has been the body that we've lent to customers when they've come to the track and not had anything. So this is well and truly smashed to pieces. Some people have had a go at repairing it, but you can see, well, I don't know if you can see, essentially it's cracked here. So it's
all the way up the edge of the headlight.
All the way from here up the headlight, actually to the top of the headlight. It's split. So it's got a huge crack. And you'll notice that this body has also cracked.
Exact same spot.
The same kind of corner where it's obviously been crashed, but it's splitting from the bottom of the lip.
Yeah.
All the way along. The green one that's been reinforced has the tiniest little crack there, which I actually remember doing that, but it's got a tiny crack. If you look on the inside,
I had a massive wallop to do that as well.
I've got a reinforcement strip along there with the mesh and the shugu, and that actually, I think, to get back onto weight, I think the best way of reinforcing a body is just reinforce around the bottom.
Just the bottom edge.
Yeah, just the bottom edge. Because if a crack can't form,
the bottom edge and
any weak spots effectively. But if a crack starts at the bottom, the more you crash, the more it will spread.
Yeah.
And if you can stop it starting by
so the top tip is to only reinforce the bits that actually need reinforcing.
Reinforce the essentials
rather than the whole
and
thing.
Don't just do everything. You don't need to reinforce the roof unless you've got a body that's prone to cracking in the roof.
I have reinforced the roof with this, and it is. I mean, Jesus,
that's rock solid. Yeah, I remember. I remember the first time I picked it up because I used to pick cars up like that by squeezing the windows in, and that one it just doesn't do it.
I mean, that's rock solid. The other thing I've done with that is put a roll cage in, which is just some aluminium tube, I suppose, taped in, and a Tetsujin light kit.
Wasn't there two light kits in there?
No, it was just one in this one, but it's a 20 LED kit. Still, at the moment, it is still the best LED light kit out there.
Yeah,
lots of fakes, lots of copies, but Tetsujin is the original.
Yep. It's the only one I'll run at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment. But yeah, so that's always a good thing to add. Adds a bit of drama, and also actually having lights on your shell, as long as they're not glaring and burning your retinas out. Which is so many people have LEDs that are too bright. We actually tell people to turn them off in the competitions.
Yeah, it hurts your eyes when you're judging, and you have to really be looking at detail at a car.
A little glow on each corner is very good.
The key with LEDs for me is point them down.
Yeah, I don't need to when you glue them in, just
you want them to be pointing, this far in front of the in front of the car, because that way it's even if you're miles away, it's never going to be shining in somebody's eyes.
And it's more scale.
It's
more realistic.
It's lighting the ground in front of it.
Point the headlights down.
And actually, there's a load of companies like Wrap Up Next and I think Active Hobby and a few others make diffusers to put on the end of the LEDs that take the brightness away from them, because it's
if
unreal.
You haven't got a diffuser, you can just get some enamel paint and dip the tip of the LED in it.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be enamel. You can just even Sharpie stuff will help.
Yeah.
But just lots of things you can do. It's one of those. LEDs are cool when you first get into this hobby, but when you've been doing it for a while, they're just
an irritation.
They're an annoyance.
And plug-in wires like that just.
And there's magnetic mounts that have, that conduct the power from the chassis and stuff. But they're all a headache. And actually, we don't really run lights anymore. Although we were talking about this recently, and I kind of want to have another body with lights in, just so we can run night mode again.
Yeah,
because it's just good fun.
It is good fun. And occasionally that comes out, and the light kit. 2 years in, the light kit still works.
Yeah, I mean, I've still got my LEDs from Tech Fusion. They're perfect, apart from the wire that I cut and had to put back together. But yeah, I mean,
that's self-inflicted.
What's the perfect body? What's the perfect? If you could have one, if you could make a new body. Sound.
It's going to come out wrong, but it's right. The best body is mine, the one I made for me.
Yeah.
In the sense of, but it changes. It's a fluid thing. So depending on the settings of my chassis and how I feel, and whether are like PSs or FCs or JZXs at that particular moment of time, whichever one you're into, whichever body you like is the best body.
Yep. Well, the reason I asked is because in real life, my 2 favorite drift cars are A86s and FC RX7s. I adore them both. I think they're fantastic. But actually, apart from the Samurai body, I'm struggling to find other variations that work for me. I had a super posh full N2 arched Corolla, which in full size cars is one of my favorite things to look at. I think they're cool.
You're not wrong.
I didn't even paint it. I just literally put it on the chassis, and it was just the wrong proportions.
Yeah,
it was too wide. It was too short at the back, too short at the front. Just wasn't for me, or too long.
It was oh man,
yeah, like I was really disappointed. And I did the same with. Do you remember the Mikuni body kit I bought for the Yokomo Street FC?
Yeah,
wicked. Until I drove the Yokomo Street FC and realised they're not for me.
Yeah,
and again that got sold before I even painted it,
which sucks.
And to be honest, I'm kind of having a bit of a dilemma with the latest one I got. We'll see if I can make it work.
I think that's one of them where this shell has had I'm just going to say a shitload spent on it. I mean, it's got the fender kit, the bonnet, the bumper, the diffuser, the
roof
wing.
Wings.
I mean, it's roof wings, boot wings, Uraz, Mikuni, blah blah blah, addiction. It's had a bunch of money spent on it. It's pretty heavy. I mean, that's as heavy as the Mark X with all the reinforcement.
Has that got any reinforcement?
No reinforcement. It's just taped together.
Yeah.
But there's a hell of a weight in it. But that body, it's nice to drive, but I don't like it.
Really?
Does that make sense?
Bizarrely, that's one of my favourites to drive that you've ever had. That's the reason I've actually got pretty much all the same parts to make one at home. Normally, you make a body that works for you, but it doesn't work for me. And that's the one that I've driven. I thought, oh, quite like that. Actually, no, it wasn't that one. It was the one you did before, which was all the same gear. The
arches were different. Yeah. The arches were different. But I mean, that's the flip side. It's a little bit different side to side. But that shell just like it's cool. It's got all the right features and everything, but it doesn't work. And I think again, it might be something to do with the weight, but I find a heavier shell is more difficult to drive.
Well, another element
got a lot of mass in it.
Exhausts, which you can't really see.
Always with the twin shotguns.
There's basically, I'm happy to run a Speedway Pal exhaust as long as it's not too heavy. This one's the limit of how heavy I'd run, and this is the
I've got a heavy.
This is the PA096-B, which is the Type B. I can't read the rest of the Japanese, unfortunately.
What's the B for? Balls?
No, it's the tip.
Type B for
Type A is like a wider one.
They should just say what they are. I mean
that to me is like a sort of Honda, or it's a smaller than A exhaust, isn't it? Small diameter. That's a 3.5-inch tip, something like that. 3-inch tip even.
That's a 3-inch tip is big. 3.5. That's old school. It's not like a HKS Super Dragger with a 4.5, 5-inch tip, is it? God, those things are stupid.
But
I mean, that's just like a HKS.
For a while, we had some. I can't even remember what I've done with mine now, but we had some exhausts made for us that were made from stainless steel. Looked amazing, really nicely made.
Worked really well. 30 grams.
Really heavy.
So,
but they were good if you were putting them on
30 grams on one corner.
Yeah, they were really good to put on a diffuser, but they were kind of too heavy to put on a body.
Yeah. But if you put them on a diffuser, you sort of needed to.
Yeah, and then that was a lot of weight. So we kind of haven't had any more made.
Heavy metal.
exhausts are cool, but bizarrely for me, it's not about making the car look super real. It's about making the car drive well.
It used to be about the super real.
Yeah.
Now it's about the super drive.
Yeah.
Super drive, yeah. Anyway, we should move on because we have waffled about that pretty intensely.
That is kind of the point of Waffle Time.
Before we do that, we did say we'd give away some of our sort of special color combinations.
Okay.
The main one, I suppose, is going to be currently my special brown.
Your special brown.
My special brown. Unfortunately, there's also my special red that everyone asked about, and there's your, I suppose the 180 is probably the easiest to use, is Jay's special purple. So we'll add that there. I'm just rubbing on the microphone to irritate everyone.
You probably need to swap that because you need it to be in the middle because it's you need to pull it back
I'm
so the light hits the.
So you can see the purple.
That'll be.
Whatever. So anyway, I shouldn't clap because it's right by the microphone. That's bad of me.
Sorry, headphone users.
Sorry, headphone users. About your ears. Don't sue me.
Tell me how to make brown.
Brown is everything we do is in Tamiya paint because that's what we sell. So that's what we use.
That's why we sell it.
Well, we use it, so we sell it, and we sell it because we use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said that right.
Something like that.
Anyway, so this is smoke. What smoke is PS something?
PS31.
PS31 maybe.
Yeah.
It's just the smoke, a couple of coats of smoke, and then the new PS61 metallic orange.
Okay.
And that is literally it. It's that simple.
I'm gonna.
Are you gonna get those? It's all happening.
Keep talking.
Then that's backed with black, so it becomes a sort of a smokier, darker hue rather than a bright one. This thing, that illuminous lime green color, is actually translucent yellow with silver behind it. That's it. It's that simple. One thing that's really good to do actually is if you want a really heavy metallic finish and you're using a candy, so you can use any of the translucent colors. Instead of using the pearl behind it, you can use lame flake. And normally when you put lame flake on, if you put lame flake on first, you get the rainbow effect. Like
you won't see that on the camera. I'll guarantee that.
You might get it.
You won't.
You're
it just looks
right.
like dust.
It doesn't look like anything. But yeah, you get a very heavy metallic, and it rainbows out.
Yeah.
What happens when you put that behind the translucent is it takes away all of the rainbowing effect and it just makes a heavy metallic effect.
Yeah.
You can buy. We do like a heavy metallic silver, don't we? Which you can use.
The bright silver PS41.
PS41, which is very,
or the anodized
very
silver
flaky,
PS48,
effectively.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the other one I was going to say. Is actually as well. Another way to get a really nice candy effect is using the anodized silver and the anodized gold behind the candies. There's also anodized champagne blue, is it, or something like that?
Champagne gold
or anodized aluminium blue.
Yeah.
But that you could do a candy with, or you could possibly do a purple with, which brings us to your magical purple.
Yeah, it's a color that took me ages to get right, and I ended up getting a tip from a guy from Brazil.
That lives in Japan.
Yeah.
Who's actually, if anyone knows him, Seiji from Slow Freaks.
Yes.
Super nice.
He gave me the final tip.
Seiji, obrigado.
Because essentially it's quite unusual. I've told a lot of people this because it took me a long time and I painted lots of bodies. Originally that purple FC that I showed before, the one that smashed to pieces.
Over there somewhere.
That was my very first attempt to get in a dark purple, and it came out a lot brighter than I was expecting, because sometimes paints do that.
You should have said deep purple.
No.
Smoke on it. Yeah.
So this is something I generally use on most of my bodies these days, and it is a combination of pearl clear, which is to give the metallic effect.
That goes on first.
I generally do the tiniest dusting of that first.
Yeah.
Followed by a couple of very thin coats of PS45 translucent purple.
Yeah, which all makes sense so far.
Yep.
That's
then I'll do some more coats of pearl clear and some more coats of, and I kind of do a few alternating so there's a bit of depth to the paint.
Okay.
And then the thing that makes it super dark is bright red, metallic red, PS15. So I'm going to put there.
There you go. It's not silver.
Which, yeah, if you go silver with that, it goes bright. And if you go gunmetal, it doesn't come out the color you want at all.
Yeah, it comes out murky, doesn't it?
Almost. And the coolest thing about the lot is that you can vary the amount of purple and vary the amount of red and how many layers you put down of each one to change the tone of it. You can really make a massive difference by putting less purple on. You'll get more red for obvious reasons. But you kind of have to start thinking about colors differently when you're painting RC bodies. You have to think about, oh, actually, I need a bit of green in this red, because that's what you maybe need to do to bring out a particular highlight or something. And then, as always, with all of my bodies, I'll back them with black, regardless of how the outer color.
All my stuff
I can't
is
stand
black.
seeing through a window of a car and seeing a bright color on the inside. It drives me crazy.
That's the same thing with LEDs. If you're looking through the body and you see the glow of the LEDs, it's like,
or maybe from an ESC or something like that. It's quite annoying. The other thing I always do is I always use PS31 to smoke the windows, or in this case, I use the Wrap Up Next tint film to have pink windows, which you can probably actually see better from that side. There we go.
There you go. Now you've got a pink beard.
Yes.
So yeah, that's some color tips. We are almost out of time, so we better do some questions.
We've got a fair few questions to crack on with as well, which is quite good. And so thanks for everyone that's asked a question, because it's not as easy to ask questions when we don't have any. First question comes from Instagram, from Christopher.
Hello, Instagram, Christopher.
This is one for you, Mitto, for sure. He said, question for Waffle Time. Any tips for wire clutter management?
Yes. Develop a really good case of OCD. It's very useful in that type of scenario. Other than that, just take your time, think about it. Don't, wiring something I'll do once and then I'll go back to it again, or I'll do it and then think about how I can tidy it up, or I'll go from there. Heat shrink as your friend, and make sure your soldering is good. Just take your time, basically. Take your time. Don't rush it.
A very important thing that people seem to not realise, which I kind of thought was common sense, is you don't want to bend wires too much.
Oh yeah, never fold a wire.
With plugs as well, you don't want to have the wire bent right over.
You don't want to have a wire that's, like people fold them into little ladders and then put a zip tie on it. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's you're ruining your wires.
You can not only is it ruining the wires, but you can generate a lot of heat, which can actually melt the insulation and create shorts and things like that.
If you want to keep your wires in place, particularly receiver wires and things like that, I will pop this body off and just show you quickly. If you want to keep your wires in place, obviously ignore the on-off switch there.
You can't see anything.
Can't really see.
Black wires on a black chassis.
Well, actually, what I've done is run very thin heat shrink over the wires individually. And then basically when you heat the heat shrink, I always do it with a lighter, but you can do it with a heat gun if you want to do it properly. But you can mold the wire into a particular shape, so you can get the wire to stay exactly where you want it, but causing any damage to it or bending it or flexing it in a stupid way. You can make the wire just sit in a nice spot. That's kind of it, really. Yeah. And if you need to cross wires over, do it gently, roll them.
Yeah, so essentially twists, folds, bends are never good. They all pull on wires. Same as if you've got a USB cable going into a device on your computer. If you bend the wire really tight, you're going to crack something. Yeah, you're going to pull it. It's going to be less reliable.
One tip as well is actually I shouldn't give this away because this is my my little best chassis gamble again. But yeah, who cares? It doesn't matter. But actually, if you look on my Deval, you can just about see that all of the wires are hidden under the top deck. But I've stuck in a piece of plastic in where there's normally a hole in the top deck,
like the one that's a bit further back.
Yeah, so you can see there. Can't put my bloody finger in there, but there's holes here, and then this one further forward is blanked off. I caught the light, and damn it, this is so hard to do.
We'll post the photo on Instagram.
It hides all the wires behind it. So anyway, hide your wires. That helps.
Yeah. Next question is from Akhtar, who used to ask lots of questions and hasn't lately. So thanks, Akhtar.
Hello, Akhtar.
He said, "What are your thoughts or opinions on ball diff/gear diff front axle?"
Wicked and ting.
Yeah, real good. You basically, if you can still make the car do what you can do with the one way, excellent. If you can't, then practice more. Yeah, that's the difference for me. But you need to be able to match somebody who's got a one way if you're in a battle. So you need to be able to run super responsive. You need to be able to make the car do what you need it to do. And if you can do that, wicked. If you can't,
basically, almost a ball diff will do exactly the same as a one-way in physical terms when you're on the throttle. But what a ball diff will do is allow, with a one-way, and you put the power in, the wheels rotate at the same speed, roughly. I mean, there's a bit of give because it's on-off. Yeah. It's still a diff. But a ball diff, your setting of that diff has to be bang on, so that you're creating that even drive.
Yeah.
So if you're running a ball diff and your settings are bad, it won't drive well. So ball diff settings are more difficult because they're finer. They also take more maintenance, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. On the rear, easier. On the front, hard. Double ball diff is super hard.
Yeah, I kind of with you, but slightly for different reasons. I think for me, it's just, I think ball diff slow the front end down too much in terms of one way is lightning fast. It's either locked or unlocked.
But then looking at Baba's car and having driven Hideki,
but that's what I'm saying. It's a technique thing.
His settings,
he can make his car do the same thing.
Yeah,
but
because
that's his
it's settings and technique, and that's But again, as I said, it's super high level, super hard. But
if you can make it work, wicked. If you can't, stick with a one way. Simple as that for me.
One way is reliable.
I've got a one way.
Next,
Chris Butcher said, "What kind of games can you play on track to improve skills and prevent boredom?"
Run together with people.
I was going to say run trains,
and actually think about where you're going to be. A good game, if there's a few of you, is basically you all start together.
What's the name of this game?
I don't know. Super Crashy Snake Game.
It's something Snake is the Japanese name.
Yeah, Super Crashy Snake Game. Oh, that's what I'm calling it. So anyway, basically what you do is you all run, and then whoever the first person is to make a mistake then has to go to the front of the train and lead.
Because leading is hard.
Because leading is the hardest thing, because you've got to account for everyone else's cars going around the corner. And then basically you carry on, and then whoever makes the next mistake, send them to the front.
Yeah.
So it gets a bit ridiculous if you've got more than sort of 4 or 5 cars, really. But if there's anything between sort of 3 and 5 of you, then it's a really fun game to play, because it makes it so nobody wants to crash. So you all concentrate a bit harder, and it gets your tension up a little bit. So that's cool.
The funny one that I'm
Super Crashy Snake Game.
The funny one that I'm kind of not a fan of is having flags to hit, because or we've got a bell. Things like that, because actually what I find is that makes people just aim for hitting that and forget everything else.
Yeah,
that's the important bit, is that they hit the clip, and actually that means they'll flap the steering if they've made a mistake.
Exactly, and if you're running trains, you don't the clip isn't as important as making room and adjusting for the other cars. And everyone in the train has to know their place and their line. But you also have to know everyone else's place and everyone else's line, so you're not blocking them.
You need better awareness of what's going on around you and that kind of thing. Right. I think that's kind of the only game we'd play really around here. We've kind of
Crashy Snake
we don't do
game.
The parking games or any of that, really, do we?
No. We do some stuff with cones, like doing figure eights and things like that. But that's more training.
In terms of practice and training, it's just being inconsistent. Trying to get yourself so you can run the same exact line 10 times in a row is a lot harder than
there's a big focus with people trying to be fast or on massive counter or whatever it is at the moment. Everyone seems to want to be the absolute extreme of everything. Actually, the most important thing is being consistent and having good all-round control of the car. Even if your counter steer's not, you're not full counter everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're consistently on mid counter and it's predictable and it's easy and it's fun. Your car should be planted, easy to drive, and relaxing to drive, because you want to be able to do 1,000 laps with it and not get tired, and not do 10 laps and go, oh man, I'm knackered from driving this. It's so much brain power. It needs to just be nice and smooth and predictable and easy. Next question is from Taj, which is quite a young man.
This definitely could be a long-winded one, but we need to try and keep this for short.
We do. I've got to go over your house.
Are wall rides still cool?
Wall rides are always cool.
Yes, they are, if they're done right.
If you're on the correct counter steer and you're not, four-wheel driving and all that sort of crap.
A wall ride isn't doing this and getting close and coming away. A wall ride is going along the wall. Parallel to the wall.
True that.
Like, I don't care if I ever see another car go whoop That's not a wall ride.
That's boring.
That's what you see in all the videos from all the beginners. It's not a wall ride.
It's Formula D.
A wall ride is coming in and running down the wall.
It's Formula D.
And being a consistent different distance from the wall for the length that you're on it, with the perfect counter that is parallel to your lead wheel needs to be parallel to the.
It needs to be that you've taken your car, you've put all your momentum into snapping against the wall, like bang, and then that's it. Just run that wall straight the way down it. So you straight full counter along the wall. You know, you'd be in there pulling the wand, going ape shit, and then full power out of it.
Next question.
Yeah.
Again from Taj. He's wondering what gyro settings to aim for rear wheel drive on carpet.
Whatever feels comfortable.
I was going to say whatever feels comfortable. A starting point, I think, that is a good place to be is having the gyro turned up as maximum as possible, but without twitching, and then work your way down until it feels comfortable.
Just lose the twitchiness.
Twitching is useless. So there's no point in starting with nothing, because that can be frustrating if you're beginning with rear wheel drive. So I start with the highest gyro level without twitching, and then back it off until you feel comfortable.
What I will say about that is that actually. A lot of people are, you know, willy waving about, oh, I'm not running a gyro, or my gyro's at 5%. Honestly, I couldn't give a shit, to be honest. It doesn't work like that. Your gyro is controlling the self-steer rate of the car. So if you're in a real car, it's the same as caster.
It's the same deal with 50-50 and double ball diffs and stuff. If you can make it do what it needs to do, wicked.
Amazing.
If it's all twitchy or the car's crabbing all over the place,
it sucks.
I don't want to see it.
But the point was slightly different to that, in the sense of when you're in a real car and you throw the car out, the car will steer itself. So with a real car, that's very heavily affected by the caster angle. So if you've got a lot of caster, it'll self-steer very quickly, bump, and it'll flick back very quickly. And what your gyro is doing is creating that self-steer effect. So don't think of the gyro in the sense of, you know, if someone's using 80%, 100% gyro, and someone else is using 5 or 10%, the skill level doesn't matter. You're not better because you're using less gyro. Your settings are different. The end result is how the car looks. And if you're using 5% gyro, but it sucks, you know, like you ain't going to score well. You ain't going to be impressive.
It's not going to be fun because you're not going to have to run with somebody who's running smoothly and
controlled. Smoothness, realism.
JR, very quick one. Can we help him set up his tattoo on Sunday? Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Tim Ansel, do you guys think rear-wheel drive will become more popular than CS drifting? I always thought it would, but it doesn't seem to be the case. I think people are not into going into a new new genre where they're not as good as they were before.
I think there's a sort of a divide happening where people are either rear-wheel drive or they're CS. And there are dabblers that do both. But I think you like the spirit of one or the other, really. At the moment, that could all change. But
for me, it's literally just if people are half decent at CS and then you put them on a rear-wheel drive car and it's something they're going to be a beginner on again, people don't seem to like to take that step back and have to relearn. So
I think for me, like, because I'm one of those people that dabbles with rear-wheel drive. For me, the rear-wheel drive currently, I'm not good enough at it to get the aggressive style that I want. So
yeah, it's kind of the same deal for me. But for me, I'm interested in getting good at it.
Yeah, and I like running with other people. So if the majority are, you know, the times I have run rear-wheel drive is when everybody else here has been rear-wheel drive. So I've gone, I want to run with everyone. You know, I don't just want to blast around on my own. But anyway,
next question, again from Akhtar. What's your thoughts or opinions on the high CS trend that some people are doing? We've kind of been there, done that.
Yeah. But if someone, you know, comes around, I'm running 6.7 CS. Look at my boobs, you know.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. It's stupid.
To me, it goes back to the basics. Can you do the same with that as everyone else can with what they've got?
Well,
what can you do that's better?
I've seen the pro drivers running 1.4, 1.5, 1.6 CS on full counter, looking amazing. And it's all about controlling wheel speed. If you're simply just adding CS so you're on counter, you're failing at your other settings. So big CS numbers, people who are running them tend to think that they're running big CS, so they're expert level. Doesn't work like that at all. What works is is actually governing your wheel speeds so that you run on counter. And the CS number is almost irrelevant to a degree.
It's just a setting.
It's just a setting in a plethora of settings.
What oil have you got? Any dampers? Same kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. It
just changes the way the car does something.
Feature.
You need to be able to make that car do exactly what a judge asks you to do in a competition. Exactly. Or you need to be able to run with somebody who's running 50-50. You need to have to run with somebody that's running 1.8, 2.0, whatever.
Exactly.
If you can't do that, then it's your failing. Don't
chase numbers, chase settings.
We've got another question, which is opinions on the new baggy mod where the lower arms are mounted underneath the bottom deck. It's very good. It's something we've thought about doing for a long time. But if you don't understand why it's done, don't do it.
It's baggy.
Essentially,
baggy's not a normal human like everyone else.
It's done for a reason. And again, the same as the original baggy mod. It's done for a very specific setup and a very specific
Doesn't he do it on the front, not the rear?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
I thought you said rear.
No, I didn't mean to anyway if I did.
Yeah.
But essentially, if you don't understand why he's doing it, don't even play around with it. Understand the concept before you do it.
Also, here's a big point. With anything baggy does, a lot of what baggy does is set up at your tar bay. Your tar bay is a very specific place. The asphalt is slightly different to most places.
The style is very different.
The style is different, and baggy is absolutely expert level. So, and if you can't drive to half his level, you shouldn't really be playing with what he's doing. I've tried so many of his settings. A lot of them are very good and work. A lot of them are magical baggy settings. So don't get too carried away trying to do extreme crazy stuff. The reason baggy's doing that is, one, he's very intelligent and can do that sort of thing.
He has the time and resources and all of that to mess around and learn.
They've been doing it twice as long in Japan, and everybody's done everything.
Yeah.
So to do new stuff, you've got to go completely wild, which is why baggy does a lot of that stuff, because it's completely different. That won't work, but look, it does. That's cool. But you don't necessarily need to do that. But if you want to, it's fun, so go ahead.
Yeah, if you're doing it for the right reasons, where you want to learn, that's wicked.
Yeah.
But doing it because somebody else has done it, to me, is lame.
Lame-o.
Not interested.
Next.
Akhtar again has asked with rear-wheel drive.
Busy on it today, man.
It's good. It's back to the old days. Should new people concentrate on CS techniques or rear-wheel drive tuning? My advice would be...
That's kind of hand in hand, really.
Well, no. My advice is you kind of need a half-decent setup to be able to practice anything. So if you were to get yourself something like a FXXS or an RMX or something that's got good settings out of the box, don't worry about tuning for now. Just get the basics down of your, get used to the new feelings and the new style and everything like that, and then you can start tuning when you are consistent or becoming consistent.
As a general consensus from the eastern side of the world, CS driving is more technique based and rear wheel drive is more settings based. So you need good technique from your CS to come over to your rear wheel drive and really improve on your settings. Yeah. So
next question from Steve Carter. He's asked, are we opening on Monday the 25th, the bank holiday? Yes, we will be.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
We will post some info up because we haven't decided on times and stuff, because we will need to pack for going to Holland the following day. So it will probably be a day session only, but we'll put all the details up nearer the time. Chris Butcher's asked, any way to watch how we all get on in the upcoming competition? I believe they're doing a live stream this year, aren't they?
From the Worlds?
Yeah, from the Worlds.
I have no idea.
I think I've seen rumours. Taj, let me know. Are you doing a live stream? I think so.
Okay.
I only say that because Taj just posted a photo saying he's watching. So, hello again, fourth or fifth time today.
Oh, you lol.
Rory's asked, with the AccuVance range, can we order in brushed ESCs? Obviously, it's going to be special order, but it's possible. We can order anything at all from AccuVance. If it's still available, we can get it. If it's old stock, we might be able to get it if they've still got some lying around.
And we've even managed to get some rare magical stock that
nobody knows about.
Really mention about. Yeah. But yes, we are the dealer. That's sort of the point.
He's also asked, will we be taking limited stock to the Worlds? We'll be taking stock that people have ordered to the Worlds. We won't be taking stuff just to sell because we're not traders at the Worlds.
Yeah.
If you play, we're going to put a collection code up early next week, and if anybody wants anything taking to the Worlds, we will be able to do that free of charge. For you to come and collect from us whenever it's convenient.
Indeed,
but we won't be taking just spares. You will need to have bought everything that you want. Next question, again from Rory. How far can the boost timing and turbo timing on an AccuVance motor go before it blows up?
All of the way.
It can go pretty far. Essentially, it's there's too many variables to be able to say what you can set to, because it depends.
As a general guide, no more than 40 degrees overall.
No, you can't even do a general guide, because it all depends on your gearing, it all depends on your setup, it depends on the track you're on, it depends how long you're on full throttle, it depends on your cooling, it depends on your ESC position, all that sort of stuff. So basically, you can push it until it's too hot to touch. Simple as that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to leave a bunch of these because we've got quite a few left, to be perfectly honest. Quick one from Arno, rear-wheel drive question. Would weighted wheels up front help with keeping momentum, or would you just understeer out of control? It depends on the surface, depends on the tyres, depends on a fair few things, but generally weighted wheels up front really help.
Suck it and see.
I always run weighted wheels on rear-wheel drive now. Actually, I run the heavyweights in MST. Chris has asked when we're going to do a video guide on the 10-step guide.
It's coming next week.
It's a monster video, to be honest. What the plan is for us to do a shorter video for each of the 10 steps, so we can have a series. But we're struggling to find the time to create these videos at the moment. So, the short answer is as quick as we can get them done, with them still being half decent.
Yes.
I think we're gonna have to end it there because Mitto has to go off and view a house.
I do.
And so that's kind of us done for the week. Any questions that are left over, I'll try and get to next week.
We will get to next week.
Yep. You need to remind me that they're there.
Okay.
And other than that, we're open as normal this afternoon. We're open as normal tomorrow. We're open on Sunday for World's competitors only.
Yeah.
And then we're back to normal hours next week.
Yeah.
And then the following Monday will be open as well.
Yes.
Wicked.
So anyway, that was Waffle Time. Thanks for joining us again.
Like and favourite this shit.
Like and favourite this.
I beat you to it.
Fucking today. Can I say that? I just did. It's too late now.
Yeah.
Become a Viking or an astronaut or,
or
whatever else takes your fancy. Just become something.
Yes. Become an RC god.
Isn't just doing nothing.
Yeah.
Do something.
Well, thanks for everyone for sending in questions this week. It's
super awesome. I'm really sorry I've got to run.
We kind of waffled on a bit too long now, and we had to be short, but never mind. We'll get to the questions next week. So fire them in, and we shall catch you next Friday.
Hamakavula.